Alrighty, I am going to go over my example presentation for my event, a Kansas City Regional Ice Hockey Tournament. So I started out by putting together a slide where I just describe what this event is going to be. You should have done this in your graphic organizer, and you should be able to just kind of copy and paste that information into a Google presentation. Directly from your graphic organizer. Make sure that you are pulling in a lot of the details that you described in your organizer. Next, we are going to pull in our target market, making sure that we have all 4 of our market segmentations pieces pulled in. So we are identifying 2 to 3 things under demographic, at least 1 item under geographic, 2 to 3 for psychographic, and 2 to 3 for behavioral. Again, this should be able to be pulled from your graphic organizer. Next, I simply just listed out what the negotiation steps were that we covered in our negotiation project. You are more than welcome to pull from this slide and kind of just sum up what you would be talking about. We are not going to have time to give these presentations formally in class like we normally would. And so instead, I would like for you to type what your explanation is in the footnotes below. I don't want you to have paragraphs and paragraphs on the slide. We want to practice putting together concise professional presentations. And so all of your full sentences should be down in the footnotes, just like my example is here. If you don't see the footnotes, it's probably because yours looks like this. Hover your mouse over the bottom. This little hand should pop up and you can adjust it. So you can type down here in the footnotes for your full explanation. The full explanation is what I'm looking for in order to fully grade your project. So make sure you are explaining everything in detail in the footnotes. Once we have detailed out what our research process looks like or what our negotiation process looks like, we can actually start talking about our choices. So I want you to identify your 2 sponsors. Down below, give me the why for each of them. I put mine in bullet points. Make sure that you are giving me the why in full sentences in the footnotes, not on the slide. And then in our negotiation project, presentation, we talked about some things we want to consider before we select our sponsors. So make sure somewhere in your footnotes you are explaining how they match your target market, and you are explaining a little bit of research that you have done over their sponsor history. So who are other teams or other events that they have sponsored in the past? That will tell you if they are a reliable sponsor. You might have to do a Google search to find out this information. Next, we talk about step 2, which is tailoring our contract. So you can, again, pull this from your graphic organizer. So what are the contract elements that you want to have for what your sponsor is getting and what you are receiving? Because we're putting this in a table, you don't have to put much in the footnotes. But again, I am grading you. So if I am guessing on what your explanation is, then I'm not sure I'm going to be able to give you all of your points. So if you feel like you need to give more explanation, put it in the footnotes. We're going to do the same thing for our 2 celebrity endorsers. So identify who they are and then give your explanation or your why in the footnotes. Again, making sure you identify how they match your target market. We give our tailoring for this contract. This is an example of how I could explain this in the footnotes. I did not do that for our sponsorship contracts, but I did give you an example for our endorsement contracts. We put together 1 piece of marketing advertising for our event or for our team. You can use any format that you'd like. Feel free to use those social media templates. Feel free to use our online flyer creators, whatever you would like to do, but you will put together 1 piece of advertising for this project. Identify the 2 endorsement risks. Again, these should be able to be pulled from your graphic organizer. Make sure that you are giving me full explanations. We want to pull our 3 pieces of merchandising. So I have, our 2 pieces of merchandising. I gave you an extra example. So I have my 2 to 3 on my screen with my Y down below. And then just like we did in our negotiation project, we're going to create some pie charts. So detail out how much money you are going to earn through your event or from your team. In order to create this pie chart, you would go Insert, Chart, Pie. Will pop up like this, and then you'll click this down arrow and push Open Source. It'll open up a Google Sheet, and then you can adjust these things. So where it says Team 1, that's where I put Dick's Sporting Goods, and they make up 25 or 32% of the money that I'm going to earn. I can change this to Snow Creek. They make up 26% of my percentage. Ticket sales, 15%. So you're going to be able to adjust these. They need to equal 100. So it doesn't matter how many items you have. You could have 16 items on your chart. I do not mind as long as it's broken down in your pie chart. When you're finished with this, like when you are finished adjusting, you'll go back to your sponsorship presentation, and this little update button should be there now that you've made changes. So you'll push update, and it is changed on your screen. So I have my pie chart, and then I have my explanation telling you where this money is coming from. So I say that the largest portion of my income is from my sponsors, being 40%. I think I will make a total of $55,500. Then I'm going to go to my payments. What am I going to be paying out? How much am I paying for my event space? How much am I paying for my promotional marketing activities? How much am I paying my 2 endorsers and the things that go along with them? Detailing them out in the footnotes. And then my last 2 slides, step 3, we are not partaking in this activity, so feel free to pull from my example slide here. And then simply a conclusion, making sure that you covered all pieces of our presentation.